You are His. The Pathway to Restoration to Sonship. Chapter 2 Reading. Chapter 2. Understanding your role as a vessel. Sin and Satan exist to frustrate your personal ambition to emulate God's character and become like Him. God does not make you like Him through your efforts to keep the law, but by receiving, through faith, His Son, who is already like Him. God has created you to be neither inherently good nor bad in yourself. You are neither good nor evil. You are simply a vessel. Your vessel will manifest either the goodness of God or the nature of evil, depending on where your faith is placed. If your faith is in His Son, Jesus, you become a vessel of God's glory. However, if your faith is in yourself and your self-effort to become good by keeping the law, you will inevitably manifest evil. You're a vessel. Sin and Satan exist to frustrate your personal ambition to emulate God's character and become like Him through your own strength. This is because God never intended for you to achieve His nature through self-effort or by keeping the law. Instead, He designed you to reflect His glory by receiving, through faith, His Son, who is already like Him. Jesus Christ is the perfect image of God's nature, and it is only by faith in Him that you are transformed into a vessel that manifests His character. Neither good nor evil, your true design. God did not create you to be inherently good or evil in yourself. You are neither one nor the other. You are simply a vessel. This truth underscores your dependency on something greater than yourself to determine what you manifest. Your life becomes a reflection of what fills your vessel. If your faith is placed in God's Son, Jesus Christ, you become a vessel of God's glory. His goodness, love, and mercy are revealed through you, not because of your own strength, but because of His Spirit working in you. However, if your faith is in yourself and your own efforts to become good by keeping the law, you will inevitably manifest the evil nature. The law exposes human inability to achieve righteousness on its own and, apart from grace, activates self-reliance and pride. This self-reliance leads to frustration, failure, and a life disconnected from the transformative power of Christ. Faith determines the vessel's content. Your faith is the determining factor in what your life reflects. When you place your faith in Christ, you are filled with His Spirit, and your life becomes a testimony of His grace and power. This is not about striving to imitate God, but about surrendering to His work in you. It is Christ in you, the hope of glory, Colossians 1 verse 27, who transforms your vessel into one that reflects God's nature. Conversely, when your faith is misplaced, focused on your own abilities, self-improvement, or keeping the law, you inevitably manifest the limitations and brokenness of the self-life. This is not because you are inherently evil, but because the self-reliant life cannot produce what only God's Spirit can achieve. God's purpose for your life. God's ultimate purpose is not for you to strive to become like Him through your own efforts, but to rest in the finished work of His Son. By receiving Jesus Christ through faith, you are united with Him, and His life flows through you. As a vessel of God's glory, your purpose is fulfilled, not by trying to achieve goodness, but by allowing His goodness to be displayed in and through you. The frustration that sin and Satan bring serves to expose the futility of self-effort and redirect your faith to Christ. This divine redirection ensures that your life reflects God's glory, not your own works, and that you remain dependent on Him for everything. You are not designed to be inherently good or evil. You are a vessel created to manifest the nature of what fills you. When your faith is in Jesus Christ, you become a vessel of God's glory, reflecting His goodness, love, and grace. However, if your faith is in yourself and your efforts to keep the law, you will inevitably manifest the limitations and brokenness of the self-life. God's plan for your life is not for you to strive to emulate Him, but to rest in His Son, who is the perfect reflection of His character. Place your faith in Christ, surrender your self-efforts, and allow His Spirit to transform you into a vessel that glorifies Him. In doing so, you fulfill your divine purpose and experience the fullness of life that comes from living in His grace. Created in, by, through, and for Christ. God has created all things, including you, in His Son, by His Son, through His Son, and for His Son, Colossians 1 verse 16. This profound truth reveals that your very existence is rooted in Christ and that His purpose is woven into the fabric of your being. You were not created for self-centered living or personal ambition, but to reflect the glory of Christ and fulfill His divine plan. Forsaking self for Christ. Since you were created for the Son of God, your ultimate purpose is found in surrendering to Him. This means forsaking a life lived for yourself, your own desires, ambitions, and self-reliance, and allowing the Son of God to live through you. Paul captures this beautifully when he writes, "I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave Himself for me." Galatians 2 verse 20. Living for yourself keeps you bound to the limitations of the self-life, striving to achieve what only Christ can accomplish. But when you surrender your life to Him and live by faith, His power, wisdom, and love flow through you, transforming your life into a reflection of His glory. Christ living through you. Allowing Christ to live through you is not about trying harder or doing more. It is about surrendering and trusting in His life within you. By faith, you become a vessel through which His character, love, and grace are displayed. This is the essence of the Christian life, not self-effort, but Christ's life manifested in and through you. Living by faith in the Son of God means trusting Him to direct your steps, empower your actions, and transform your heart. It means resting in His sufficiency, knowing that He has already accomplished everything necessary for your salvation and purpose. As you forsake living for yourself, you align with the reason you were created, to glorify God by allowing His Son to shine through your life. You were created in Christ, by Christ, through Christ, and for Christ. Your life finds its true meaning and purpose not in self-centered pursuits, but in surrendering to Him. Forsake living for yourself and let the Son of God live through you by faith. In doing so, you fulfill your divine purpose and experience the abundant life He has planned for you. For in Christ, you live, move, and have your being. Acts 17 verse 28, and through Him, your life becomes a testimony of God's eternal glory. This chapter unveils the profound truth that we are not inherently good or evil, but designed as vessels to manifest the character of what fills us. God's divine plan does not hinge on our self-efforts to emulate His nature, but on faith in His Son, Jesus Christ, who perfectly reflects His image. When we place our faith in Christ, we become vessels of His glory, radiating His goodness, love, and grace. However, relying on self-effort or striving to keep the law leads to frustration, as it exposes the limitations of human ability to achieve righteousness apart from God. Through this chapter, we are reminded that God's purpose is not for us to imitate Him through personal ambition, but to rest in the transformative power of His Spirit. By surrendering to Christ, we align ourselves with God's original design, to live as vessels of His glory, reflecting His nature and fulfilling our divine purpose. Beloved, you are not called to carry the impossible burden of self-perfection. You are created as a vessel to reveal God's glory, and that revelation comes only through faith in Jesus Christ. Surrender your self-efforts, forsake the illusion of self-reliance, and trust in His sufficiency. As you rest in the finished work of Christ, His Spirit will flow through you, transforming your life into a testimony of His grace and power. Remember, you were created in, by, through, and for Christ. Your life finds its true meaning and fulfillment not in striving, but in surrendering. Let the Son of God live through you, for in Him, you live, move, and have your being. Embrace your role as a vessel of His glory, and let your faith in Him shape your destiny. God has not called you to be the source of light, but the vessel that carries His light. Trust in Him, rest in His grace, and watch as His life transforms you into a beacon of hope, love, and eternal glory.